Hello everyone, welcome to Tabletop RPG time. We got some new stuff going on now. I have a table camera. It's right up there. Hand cam! Exactly, hand cam. Now we can play games where we need to see the table. I can also do, like, craft-based streams that need the table. Uh, so that's fun. I'm actually really excited about this. Um, Let me turn on some lights because the sun is setting and hang on. Wait a minute. Let me center myself in camera here for a second. Let's just take in the nice lighting for a moment. You know, because the sunset produces nice lighting. Okay. Let me. Yeah. And will that work? Is that okay? Yes. Okay, so we are going to be playing Borealis this fine evening. Let me tilt you all so I'm centered in shot. Sorry, because that would bother me. We're going to be playing Borealis this evening. In short, it is about, well, if the PDF would load, I could read you the nice blurb, but it isn't? Excuse me, I need to be able to read this for the game that I'm going to play. I'll try and open it again. If it doesn't work this time, I will just open Crypt Keeper and we'll play Crypt Keeper. Technical difficulties! Hooray! Okay, it actually did open this time. So, Borealis, per its tagline, is about questing through the icy north in search of the Borealis, a legendary shrine to the gods of winter, and you will confront all you find along the way using the tools and the knowledge that you gain while doing so. In short, we are wandering around a frozen tundra. Hey, it's Altier. Thank you for the lurk. I think there's a lurk command. There should still be a lurk command. Lurk. I'm just glad everything's working. Oop. Okay. I have told the bot that I am lurking, but it's the same basic idea. So we're going to be playing Borealis this fine evening. We're going to be questing into the frozen tundra, fittingly. And what we will need is our handy-dandy deck of playing cards that I'm relatively sure I shuffled. Actually, I might need to unshuffle them. Let me double check. Setup. Remove the King of Diamonds, 3 of Spades, and 6 of Spades from the deck. Oh, no, yeah, no. I just need to find those 3 cards and pick them out, and then we can use the shuffled deck. So, first of all, we will remove the blank card, as cool as it is, because we won't be needing it. I'll put it over here so it's not in the way. And then we need to rustle through the deck real quick for the King of Diamonds, the 3 of Spades, 3 of Spades. I'm going to shuffle this for posterity's sake. The 6 of Spades is the other card we're looking for. Despite my entire inability to probably find the King of Diamonds. King of Diamonds. 52 cards, so we need to not have the jokers involved either. Did we already see a joker? The answer is no. Okay, so we're looking for the 6 of Spades as the only remaining card we're looking for now that we've gotten the jokers out of there. 6 of Diamonds, 6 of Hearts, 6 of Spades. Okay, then we will shuffle these lads. Just for my own sanity. I know I am personally incapable of remembering all the cards. Someone yell in chat if I am wildly out of frame. I look to be okay. But I will struggle to shuffle these cards. I'm not exactly good at it. I really should acquire a card shuffler. But we will give this deck of cards a good 5 shuffles, let's say. That's 2. And then we can actually get started by taking half the deck, I believe, or did it say a specific number of cards? The top 21 cards, shuffle the King of Diamonds in, and then deal them in a 6x4 rectangle and place the 6 of spades and the 3 of spades face up in the left of the bottom row. Noted. Let's see, this is 3. I think I'm perfectly in frame. Good. Glad to hear it. But yeah, this one, I 100% picked up this one based on title. I'm not usually one to do it solely on the title of the game, but I saw Borealis, and I went, well, that's right up my alley. I need to play this. So, you know, fun. Can I please be less bad at shuffling cards? No. No, it's not allowed. Sometimes I nail it, and sometimes I have failed my dexterity check. I believe this is 5. We said 5. I'm going to stick to 5. But, okay. So, now we take the top 21 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. We will double check that count, just for safety's sake here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. We were aiming for 21 because the King of Diamonds makes 22. So we place the King of Diamonds in, and then we shuffle this whole affair to make sure we don't know where the King of Diamonds is. We're only going to shuffle it twice because this is a very small deck. We'll shuffle it 3 times because I'm relatively sure that the King of Diamonds did not move during that shuffle. I probably should have put it in the middle so shuffling was much more effective, but oopsie whoops. We have no idea where it is. You might. I don't. So then we deal to make a 6x4 rectangle. So 6 down, 4 across. So where are the confines of my frame here? That will do. 1, 2, 3, 4, and my frame extends all the way down here, nearly to the edge of the table, so that's fine. So we can go 4 down from there. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, that's fine. These rows are not going to be symmetric, by the way. My apologies to people who care about that kind of thing. It did say 6x4, didn't it? Yeah, 6x4 rectangle, leaving the first 2 spaces at the left of the bottom row empty. 1, 2. I'm also kind of dealing these a little more randomly rather than dealing them in order in hopes that it improves the required randomness of the board. And then these 2, do they go in a specific order? The 6 of spades and the 3 of spades face up in these 2 spaces. Place your pawn on the 6 of spades in the bottom left to indicate your position, and we'll need a 12-sided die. Okay. So we fish my dice out here. We pick the much beloathed child of the dice set, the D12, and we use D6 as our pawn, as is tradition. And I think that's all the setup we need to do. Bottom left to indicate position. Okay. Yeah. Each turn... Okay, now we get to read the rules. Each turn consists of moving your pawn to a card adjacent to it, vertically or horizontally, not diagonally. So like so, or like so. Not like so. That's not allowed. We may move freely across adjacent face-up cards. When moving onto a face-down card, reveal it by turning it over. If the card is black, it represents a tool or ability or boon that you've discovered on your quest, described by the card list. Leave it face-up so we know it, and move again. If the card is red, you must face its challenge. See the card list for the details of the particular card. If you're successful in facing the challenge, leave the card face-up. If you're unsuccessful, turn the card face-down again and retreat to the previous card. Your goal is to reach the Borealis, represented by the King of Diamonds, and succeed in its challenge while having at least 140 total points face up on the board. 1 second, I need to clean my glasses real quick. Sorry, they're bothering me. They may not be bothering you, but they are bothering me. So for context, when it says a red card, it means a blue card. Just for the state of my deck. And when it says black card, it means a green card. Hopefully, by looking at the jokers off to my left here, I will be able to remember that. If not, someone call it out for me. Challenges. To face a challenge, you roll your 12-sided die. This guy. You must roll equal to or higher than the face value of the card. Aces count as 1, 2 to 10 count as 2 to 10. Jacks 11, Queens 12, and Kings 13. If you fail in the challenge, you must turn the failed card back face down and retreat to the previous card you were on. You may challenge a failed card again whenever you choose, as long as a route to it remains available. You may add a bonus to your challenge by sacrificing tools and abilities that you've gained. Retreating. If you fail a challenge, you must retreat. To retreat, turn the red card back over to be face down, move your pawn back to the previous card, and sacrifice one face-up black card of your choice. You now have used this tool or ability, and it is gone. You may not sacrifice a black card in your previous location, and thus leave yourself nowhere to retreat to. If you have no face-up black cards on the board, then you cannot retreat. Losing a challenge and being unable to retreat means you failed in your quest and died in the unforgiving, icy wastes, never to return. Hopefully I will remember, so none of you have to call out the colors, by the way. Bonuses. The red cards you're challenging will describe the maximum bonus you can use. To add a bonus to your challenge, you can sacrifice face-up black cards, then add some of their face values to the dice roll. If the sum of the sacrificed cards is greater than the maximum bonus, you may only add the maximum bonus to the roll, but all the cards are still sacrificed. So basically you can dump points into something until the maximum set by the challenge, and then they all go away. You may choose to add a bonus. Ooh, this is important. You may choose to add a bonus after the dice roll has been made. So if I roll a 1, I'm like, oh, and I want to win this challenge, I can blow 11 points. Well, I can blow as many points as I can and hope it gets me through the challenge. Yeah, you have to roll over. You have to roll over the face value, didn't we? Didn't we just read that, large brain? Yes, we have to roll equal or higher to than the face card. So for a king, you absolutely have to sacrifice an item. Noted. Sacrifice a face-up black card, remove it from the layout, and replace it with the top card of the supply pile. This guy, you know, that guy that I almost left over there that we didn't really need? Yeah, this guy. Face down, you may then revisit this card as normal on your turn. You're permitted to sacrifice the 3 and 6 of spades that you started your walk with if you need to. If the supply pile is empty, then you may not sacrifice. If you're required to sacrifice by a retreat, and the supply pile is empty, then you may not retreat, which means you lose. Victory is the discovery of the Borealis, represented by the King of Diamonds, and you have to defeat the challenge it gives you. This involves rolling equal to or higher than 13 to defeat a king as normal, but you also must have face-up cards of either color whose face values sum to 140 or greater. Success in the challenge of the Borealis means victory, and the winter now knows your worth. You will be welcomed back by the people as one who walked with winter and survived. Let us hope we walk with winter and survive. So then the rest of the book is just tables. So let us begin. We step. We find ourselves at the precipice of an unmanaged wild tundra. Like many people who live near this sort of thing, the indigenous folks, who are our brethren, uh, like to test the children's mettle to make sure they're not going to, hurt themselves in living, because you need to go out and hunt for things on the tundra. And so part of the coming of age is the search for the Borealis. And so we are a youngish person standing at the edge of. We're standing behind a fence that marks the open tundra, and we take our first step out into the world and find immediately that there is something else we gain. As we are about to leave the gate, a thin cloud drifts across the sky. Rare here, for clouds are the breaths of the gods, but this one almost makes you laugh, as the shape of it reminds you of the face of your brother, and you feel bolstered by the reminder of your family, as if they walk this walk with you. Simple premise, great storytelling potential. I agree. So, as we step out of the gate... Oh no, hang on, library's puking. Library, buddy. No, it's okay. It's okay, baby. Oh... This is why we don't eat the paper. I keep telling you, don't eat the paper you find on the ground. And I try to stop you, and you don't listen. And I pick you up to stop you. And yet, lo and behold, you still eat it anyway. Actually, this might just have been because he ate too fast. But we don't need to bury it. It's okay. Papa's got it. Yeah, he just panicked. He just ate a little too fast and panicked a little bit. Poor baby. The poor baby. Don't worry, Library is not, like, in medical distress or anything. He's just dumb. I love him to death. He has very few brain cells. He ate a little too fast, or he ate and then drank some water and it expanded in his stomach and it was too much. He just does not know how to eat real good, is all. Oh, that's concerning. Oh, dang it. Could my computer stay plugged in, please? Thank you. Yeah, he ain't got too many brain cells, is all. Where was I? As we step out the fence gate into the tundra, we are reminded that we do not walk alone on this journey. Certainly, physically, we walk alone, but not mentally. We are buoyed by the aid of our family and our forebears. It's much more intangible when it comes to our forebears, but our direct family, there's a lot of focus placed on what your family can give you in terms of skill and in terms of, what's the word not only in terms of skill, but also material support. And the cloud that brushes across the sky as we leave does in fact remind us of our brother's hair, and it makes us smile because we recognize that we are not alone. We stand alongside our entire family as we step out into the world. And then we will take another action. And our the King of Hearts. Remember, the King of Diamonds means the end of the game. The King of Hearts does not. And as we are wandering out into the world, we immediately find that a challenge has reared its ugly head in our face. Perhaps it is some bad luck to go with the good that we had recalled the help of our family. A wide circle in the snow is, you suddenly realize with shock, no mere depression, but a footprint large enough for you to easily stand inside. And some distance on is another. And another. What gargantuan beast could leave such marks? Does it hunt for you? How will you find a way past it? So uh, as the prompt says, we are walking, and we find these absolutely gargantuan footprints. It is a singular large circular depression, and then hang on a second, I need to count. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry, I needed to count. There are 4 smaller depressions in front of it, and little claw marks to go with those smaller 4 depressions. And we recognize this as the nearly mythic. Oh, hi, library. I didn't know you'd come up on the table cam. There he is. You want to come up here instead? You want to come up here and tell a story? He's like, well, you just pushed me down. Okay. Come on, bud. I mean, you can stand there and be on camera. I don't care. Um, where was I? I lost my place there. Large brain. Oh, we have discovered the. Oh, there he goes. We've discovered the massive paw print of a mythic beast, the giant saber-toothed lynx. And there have been tales told of these absolutely massive predators among our people for many years. Library, this is why you puke. You try to eat everything that looks interesting. If you couldn't tell there, he was trying to eat the dice, which is explicitly not allowed, sir. Where was I? This massive lynx, with its teeth large enough to dwarf a man, has been told of in legend for many, many years, and we always kind of, as we grew up, shook it off as kind of a big fish story, a big ghost that you tell the kids about to stop them from wandering off into the tundra and causing problems. But as we see this one footprint, our eyes widen in shock, and then we look forward, our eyes shielded from the sun, really wishing that we had remembered our snow blindness goggles, but we had forgotten them. So we shade our eyes and look forward, and we see a second footprint slightly offset, and then a third, and then a fourth. And the depressions in the snow are, deeper than the average, deeper than the tracks that we've already come past because of the way cats walk. And we realize that we need to avoid this thing's gaze or risk being eaten. And so in the process, we sit down for a while and rummage through our pack in hopes of finding some kind of camouflage. And we'll see how that goes. That's a 3. The maximum bonus we could apply to this is 6, which would only bring us up to 9. So as we are sitting there rummaging through our pack, taking everything out, it makes a massive ruckus. And without realizing it, we have inadvertently summoned the giant lynx, and we hear... And we look up and look around. What are those huge footsteps? Ordinarily, a cat is silent, unless it is really running. And as we slowly turn our head to the right for a third time, we see that this lynx is charging at us. Maximum zoom, eyes, pupils fully open, understanding the world in the most aggressive way possible. It is charging at us, and we need to get out of the way or get ate. So we hastily cram everything back into our bag and since we've paid attention in the past, realize that running to the side is going to make it harder for the predator instead of, running in a straight line away from it. So we turn 90 degrees away from it and start dashing as hard as we can away. And unfortunately, we have failed the challenge of the giant lynx, but perhaps we will give it another shot later. And we're, do I lose anything for retreating, or do I just lose? Do I just walk back? I forgot. Retreating. If you fail a challenge, sacrifice one black face-up card of your choice. You've used this tool or ability, and it is lost. In the process of cramming everything back into our bag, we realized that we did not pick back up something that we brought from home, and it was a very large walking stick. And per the prompts on the table, the 3 of spades, your malmra, or walking stave, is the key tool of the people. Sharpened at one end and carved with runes of knowledge and protection, it can be used to drive through ice as a pole for a biovac. Biovac? I've only read that word. I've never said it aloud. Bivouac. Biovac. Or skis, or to hold up a weary travelers, as well as a myriad of other things. We realize that we lose our enchanted staff in the process because we didn't think to grab it off the ground because everything was in the bag. We gotta go! And we know that we cannot turn around to try and find it. It is lost in the snow forever. And so, with the difficulty of losing one of our few touchstones from home, in our mind, we trudge onward. Before we figure out what this card is, I need to read chat. Eating is hard. Yeah, poor kitty. Eating is hard. Dice, especially these dice. Look at these dice. I'm gonna pick these up and hold these up to the camera. Look at these dice. Look how much they look like a sugared candy. Oh my gosh. Okay. They look so edible, and I want to, if I knew what I was doing with rock candy, I would make rock candy dice, because that sounds like a ton of fun. Anyway, we'll find out what's next on our journey. Another challenge, the 7 of Hearts. The red challenges to be overcome. 7 of Hearts, max bonus of 3. A tiger of ice stalks the landscape, alert for all who may become its prey. Avoid or tame its fearful symmetry to continue. So as we are running, we trip over what feels like a stone and almost faceplant into the snow and roll our shoulder into the fall and roll and come back up on our feet. And we look back behind us to figure out what that stone was. It is a fist-sized, singular fist-sized chunk of ice. And we kind of tilt our head, why is there ice on top of the snow? I don't understand. And we look a little closer and realize that this is the droppings of essentially an ice elemental, a spirit of 6 points and seemingly endless teeth that is perfectly symmetrical at the middle. It has been said that these spirits arise from those who have been killed by the giant lynx that we just outran. These tigers are essentially the vengeful spirits of those who have failed in their task before us. And our blood runs cold for a moment. We start looking around frantically to try and figure out, where is this thing? Where is it? I need to at least get out of here, if not defeat it. And I'm not going to use either of the tools we've acquired from home. I'm just going to see if I can roll above a 7. Because I would lose 3 points on trying to use either of these spades. So let's see if we can roll a 7. Come on. Yeah, an 8. Uh, so as we were looking around, sorry, I don't think that was down on the table long enough for you all to see that. I promise it was an 8. So as we were looking around frantically, we see the sun glint off of this horrifying tiger-like spirit, and we cringingly pick up the chunk of, detritus that it has left behind and use it to arm ourselves. And as it comes at us, we simply step out of the way of its charge and throw the chunk of ice at its face, and we strike it perfectly in the center of its nose. And being perfectly symmetrical, it wants to break along any lines of symmetry. It breaks into six pieces that double into 12, that double into 24. And by the time it is done shattering, there are 3 and 6-sided pieces of ice in a torrent all over the ground. And we pick up both the chunk of ice that we had thrown has a massive dent in the front of it, and we set it back down. It's done its work. And instead, we reach into the pile of ice and pull out essentially, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This only has 5 sides. What dice has 6 sides on its face? Give me a second. No, that's all triangles. Anyway, we pull up this thing that has essentially hexagonal symmetry on every side. It is a chunk of ice that is formed out of six-sided polygons, essentially. That's 3, but you know what I mean. 6-sided polygons, and we very gently wrap it in, some linen that we had brought along, in hopes to keep it out of the sun, and we hang it from our belt. The core of this thing could come in handy, eventually. And we walk on in the tundra. We find yet another challenge rearing its head for us to defeat. The 2 of diamonds. Oh! Sorry about that. Sneeze. The 2 of diamonds. A driving hail of ice chips marks the leading edge of a storm. Will you keep your direction and make your way through? So we are far from the only person set out into the tundra in search of the Borealis, and we have it on good authority that provided we stay on the same wayfinding line, we are very likely to find the Borealis, at least where the last person thought they found it. And this ice storm is rapid. The front of this ice storm is rapidly approaching at us, and we look at it and realize that going around it is going to be just as much work as going through it, and so we tighten our protective cloak and hope that the small leather helm we were given before leaving is enough to protect our head from the severe concussions of the large hail, but it is certainly not enough to stop the diamond dust and the blown snow off of the ground from pelting us in the eyes, and we really, really wish we had remembered our goggles now. The bright whiteness assails our eyes, and let's see if we manage to remain online. That is a 4, so that means we do manage to defeat this task. As we march forward through this storm front resolutely, we realize that it is a linear storm front. It's 5, 10, 15 feet wide, and it blows over us almost immediately. We heave a sigh of relief. That could have been a lot worse. And we'll move on to our next challenge here. and find that it is not a challenge, but a gift from home, the Two of Clubs, which is... The snow and ice stop at the edge of a broad circle of cracked rock. At the center of it, a pool of liquid water, and you can see the haze of steam above it. A hot spring. Here? You take the time to bathe your hands in it, the warmth flooding through you delightfully. Perhaps it's a gift from the land. So as the prompt says, we are looking around, squinting our eyes from the brightness of the sun bouncing off the ground back at us, and it takes us a long moment to see this large pillar of stone rising out of the snow, and we kind of shake our head and blink our eyes and try and clear the snow from our face for a moment to make sure that this is not some kind of mirage or something. But eventually it resolves in our vision that this is a large chunk of stone, and atop the large chunk of stone is a slowly swirling pillar of steam. And we know that steam in a place like this means a hot spring. So we very carefully approach this hot spring and find that the pillar has steps carved into the side of it. Apparently this place has been frequented by many various travelers, and over the years steps have been worn in by the trotting feet of those who have come before. And we carefully set our pack at the bottom of the stairs and walk up into the hot spring and disrobe and everything, and warm our cold wearied bones for a moment. And that heat seeps as deeply as we can stand it to be before we move on. And that heat can shield us from the terrors of frostbite as it could very easily set in a setting like this. One moment, I just realized that the headlights on my car are actively on. So I'm gonna go fix that. Oh wait, I can fix it from my cell phone using the power of the internet. So I don't have to stand up, and I can keep talking about how, this hot spring must have naturally arisen out of the snow and the ice, relatively early on for it to have been here. Sorry, I'm typing a password. One moment. Hopefully my phone is not in shot. It's not, thankfully. Um. Anyway, this pillar of stone must have been here for a really, really long time. And were it not for the lack of anything and everything around it, honestly, a smaller settlement probably would have cropped up around it. But because of, the harsh weather, you need some kind of wind barrier, and this hot spring just didn't seem to have the appeal outside of the particular warmth of the spring. And we're thinking about, like, why didn't anybody settle here? It doesn't make any sense. Why in the world would they do that sort of thing? And then we're looking around on top of this stone pillar. I told it to turn off the lights, and it's not turning off the lights. Please turn off the lights. Am I gonna have to stand up and go do this anyway? Come on. You can do it. My lights are not off. I can see the car from here. Ugh. Hang on. Text on screen. Be right back. Oops. Why I didn't think to turn off the car lights, I don't know. Probably because my brain is large. I will be back. This shouldn't take more than a moment. Shouldn't being the operative word there. Thought I turned them off this morning, but Well, that was inconvenient. I genuinely thought I had turned those off, and I don't quite understand why my... Usually I can tell my car, like, a little bit of what to do, when it is... when I am nearby with my cell phone, but it just simply would not obey the command to turn off the lights. It was very rude. I cannot believe the audacity of Miss Ada. Anyway, where was I? This hot spring. As we're looking around from the top of this stone pillar, we realize that this probably actually wouldn't have been a very good place to settle despite the warmth of the water. Just for the sheer factor of there is no cover of any kind, and building any sort of ice and snow cover only lasts so long. So, as we are sitting there, we kind of answer our own question in the sense of, well, why didn't anybody settle here? Because it wasn't settleable. And with the warmth of this hot spring suffusing our bones and the memory of that warmth fixing itself quite firmly in our mind as something to remember when things get rough, we will move on to our next event, which is the Jack of Hearts. That means we gotta roll a 10 to get past this. The Jack of Hearts means a roaring sound chills you to your bones as you realize with horror that ahead is an ice bear and it's protecting cubs. The bears are formidable opponents themselves and can act in a frenzied rage to defend a family. Find a way to proceed if you can. So as we are walking, it is becoming increasingly harder and harder to see as snow blindness assails our eyes from the sun reflecting back up at us. Everything is so white, so bright. There's after images everywhere we are looking. And so we don't notice until it is too late that we have walked between a train of three snow white bear cubs and their mom, who is standing a little farther away. And the mom immediately notices us between her cubs and her, and lets out that horrifying roar that chills our blood. We momentarily panic and then realize that we have that heart, that soul of the ice tiger, of the ice elemental tiger that we've defeated previously, to steal our what's the word I'm looking for? To steal our attack on this thing. These things do not go down easily, but we're feeling confident because we've defeated that bear. We've defeated that tiger previously. No library. We don't need to hassle the dice. Come on, I need to roll a 10. It's a 2. There is nothing we can do there because the max bonus would be 5, so we would not be able to do that. So I'm not going to use my resources on that. We stand with our feet planted and our hands spread in such a way that we feel we can hassle this bear. And what we don't realize is that there is a small depression. There is a small void in the snow nearby, and as the bear comes charging at us, it stumbles into that void, and we snap to our senses and realize there is no way we could have defeated that thing, not like this. And so we take the opening left by that void in the snow as the bear struggles to escape, and run. Just bail out of there. And we are so startled and in such a hurry. Oh no, I can't do that because that's the card we're landing on. Never mind. We're so startled and in such a hurry to escape that we drop another something from home. Your sealskin coat is lined with fur and treated with Elder Emelian's finest unguents our finest unguents to keep the winter out and you inside as warm and dry as possible. As we are fleeing from this bear, in terror, trying not to get our insides eaten, we also trip head over heels, and we find that our nice sealskin coat. I looked at that card. I'm gonna put that on the bottom. Um, that our nice sealskin coat has become soaked, and it's going to take a while for it to dry, so it's not going to be able to come in handy for us. So we once again we now wander the frozen wastes in search of our next something, anything to help us, as our coat freezes solid against us, and the cold seeping into our bones from it uh, does precious little to accentuate the often insulating effect of ice itself. And we move to our next event, which is the Ace of Hearts. The snow grows deep and cold. Draw upon your experience of the ice lands to proceed. As we are trudging, we realize that the snow we are trudging into is getting less and less dense, and we're sinking slowly, further and further. And as we realize that this is happening, uh, at some point we look forward and realize that the snow has a dense layer underneath it. It's just getting less and less dense. And so we look forward and realize the hill we're climbing up is more of a dune or a drift. And so we draw on the experiences we know work, and we rummage through a pack and find a small shovel and dig out essentially a hole in this dune to let us rest for the night. We'll see how that goes. That's an 11. We produce this essentially igloo almost perfectly. It is note perfect. There is the holes in the top of the cave essentially that we've created perfectly draw away the smoke from any fire that we would potentially light. It is warm, it is toasty, it is pleasant. It allows us to unfreeze our coat and take a deep breath and rest for a night. In relative comfort, even. So we'll move on to our next goal. I just realized I don't know that I can walk over. Before I make that move, I don't know that I can walk over cards that I've already taken. Is that allowed? Bonuses, challenges, the play. You may move freely across the adjacent face-up cards. Okay, I just didn't want to paint myself into a corner. Okay, we move on to our next card here, our next event. The 10 of Hearts. These challenges have been pretty dire, especially for someone lacking in resources as we have been. And they just continue to get more and more dire. Wherever we're walking, it's either the correct direction and fate is trying to make it difficult for us, or we're going the wrong way. Because as we're trudging along the edge of an ice shelf, the seawater black below us, we lose our footing. We can save ourselves, but our trusty staff, your Melnra, essential tool, begins to tumble toward the icy sea below. Save or retrieve it at all costs. So, as we were walking along, didn't mention retreating at some point. Yeah, if we fail a challenge, like we have failed this card and this card, and I think this card as well. No, this card was something we lost. But we failed this card and this card, and if you fail a card, you have to retreat onto a card that's face up that you already have, and you have to sacrifice one of your tools. Anyway, story I was telling. As we were walking, we come to the edge of an ice shelf. the seawater slowly undulating beneath us, and this undulation is the only thing providing a change in color, as otherwise it is pitch black against the ice. Perhaps it's the snow blindness we've been experiencing, but it is so strange to see anything but snow for a while. And we realize that sticking straight up at the edge of the ice shelf is our Melnra. That thing we lost earlier, that staff that is enchanted to return to oneself helpfully if it is ever lost. We forgot that it could potentially return to us. And we dash forward, heedless of the ice and snow beneath us, and the fact that if we do not grab the staff in the perfect way, we could fall off the cliff and fall into the ocean to our death of hypothermia. We are so excited to see the staff that was supposed to be helping us this whole time appear again, that we rush heedlessly. What's the maximum bonus I can pull here? The maximum bonus is 4, so I cannot do that. As we rush forward to try and grab our staff, it jumps out of the snow and strikes us in the chest to halt us, and in the process tumbles off of the edge of the cliff down into the ocean with it's a sickening little splash noise. I hope you could hear that. With a sickening splash, it falls into the ocean, probably never to be seen again, and we realize that we were really underestimating the effectiveness of this cliff at killing us, and we back away slowly and trudge the other way. And the chill of losing one of the last things we have from home steals the warmth from our bones that we had previously garnered and held on to ever so carefully from that hot spring. And we trudge onward to see what else this tundra has for us. Yet another challenge, the 9 of Hearts. As morning dawns and you emerge from sleep, you realize with horror that you cannot move. An unseen trickle of water has frozen into ice around you, paralyzing and entombing you. Will it be your coffin? So as we are walking away from this ice shelf, we realize that we are so shaken that we basically cannot get anything done for the rest of the day. So we simply retreat to that igloo we made before. But it is no longer as watertight and perfect as it was. The snow has shifted in such a way that as we are taking a rest there and doze off for a moment, we realize that it dawns on us all at once that snow does not remain watertight forever. And, as an extension of that, the snow does not stay put when you place it there unless you go out of your way to freeze it so. And we did not do so after we left the igloo because we thought it was temporary. And so we find that the water from within, the water produced by our body heat melting the snow that we are laying on has frozen our sleeping bags shut, and we struggle to get out of there, our arms crossed. And let's see if we can manage to escape here. That's a 7. I'm going to use our only remaining resource card here to get out of here. What are we using to get out of here? The 6 of clubs. The sun rises on a new day, and you're delighted to be greeted by the piping melody of a snowlark wheeling above you in the sky. The sky is bright and welcoming, and the memory of the music will keep a smile on your face for many hours as your quest continues. As we struggle in this in this essentially tomb of our own design, we realize that it feels a bit like cracking out of an egg, and remember the snow larks as they nest in the snow, as they nest as high above the snow as they can manage, and how their simple song echoes in our ears over and over, allowing us to remember some good things about home. I almost flipped that card again. I didn't look at that one. Um, it allows us to remember some good things about home, and that thought warms our heart, if not our body. And we manage to summon the strength to crack out of our bag and double check the seals and the clothes and the clasps on it, and find that it is fine, just waterlogged. We're going to have to carry it over our back to let it dry in the sun, and we do so. We shake ourselves out of our reverie and walk forward to continue on. And we find another challenge. The Three of Hearts, very heavy on the challenges tonight. The tundra has not been very forgiving to us. This night is bitterly cold, even for the frozen Northlands, and you sluggishly begin to realize there's a real danger of you freezing to death. How will you avoid the cold? So perhaps it's the fact that our sleeping bag is partially waterlogged. Perhaps it's the fact that we forgot to remove some layers as we were moving, and so our sweat soaked several of the layers of clothing that we were wearing as well. But for one reason or another, we are a little waterlogged, and the temperature is dropping precipitously. And we realize that there is genuinely a danger of our clothes entombing us as the sleeping bag had before, and that ice, bringing shades of blue and purple to our skin and ending our life. And we realize that the only way to continue living is to force blood flow, and so we sacrifice sleep. We sacrifice a good deal of our sleep that night in an attempt to keep moving, to accurately provide accurately allow us to continue to have sensation in our body and make sure that we don't lose any extremities to this bitter, bitter cold. That's a 6. There we go. And thankfully it works, and we exhaustedly trod on, wondering whether the tundra has anything good and useful for us to go with all this trouble. The 8 of Clubs. Ice overhangs from the sides of a crevasse, providing a brief respite from the biting winds. The pitilessly bright sunlight is muted and almost warming, glittering from the crystalline edges and lining the whole area in a lemon-yellow light. This land is hard and cold, but at the right moments its beauty can almost take your breath away. As we are trudging onward, bitterly regretting our loss of sleep, our bleary eyes see as we come up over a rise that there is a small valley to take shelter in. And despite our best thoughts telling us that other things are going to be taking shelter there too, we shake our head and realize that we need shelter from this wind in order to just think straight on how little sleep we got last night. And as we enter the sunlight prisms down off of these icicles large enough to be called stalactites, essentially, as we realize this ravine is not only a ravine, but leads into a large series of ice caves glittering with a crystalline blue-yellow light, with a crystalline light altering between that beautiful shade of light blue and the incredible shade of bright yellow from the sun that we saw as we entered this ravine. And the beauty of it all strikes us, and we sit for a moment and just take in the world around us. Even despite all the difficulty that we've been having on our journey, this place really can be beautiful. it is worth the toil to experience what we have seen. But eventually we have to stand up and move on. And the tundra holds endless challenges for us with the 9 of diamonds. From beneath snow and ice bursts a polar worm in a cloud of steam, its body pulsing with internal fire. Wing-like fins flare from the back of the creature's head, and its wide mouth brims with jagged teeth. How will you continue your quest? As we are leaving the cave, we hear distantly a rumble, and we put it out of our mind. We're too preoccupied with how beautiful that cave was. And that almost is our undoing as we continue to trudge onward and onward, consulting a sundial and some various other instruments to try and get back onto the line that we were originally supposed to walk to try and find the Boreas, the Borealis rather. And this worm bursts out of the snow almost at our feet and throws us backwards. And as the drift catches us, as a drift that we had just hiked over catches us, almost holding us still for a moment, this worm breathes out a cloud of steam that is lit by the sun to almost emulate a tongue of fire, and we realize this is why these worms were always told to have been breathing fire. Or at least we hope that that's why. It was just a little poetic license. These things can't really breathe fire, can they? And we'll roll to see if we can squirm out of the snowbank to distract this thing, or, potentially perform some kind of rhythmic movement to summon some prey for this worm to eat instead of us. That's a 10. In our panic, we are wriggling to try and get out of this snowdrift. We've been practically buried in it a little bit, and something about the way that we are wriggling and flailing our arms to try and dig ourselves out of this hole that the worm has put us in, essentially activates some kind of defense mechanism in this worm. Perhaps it's because it is so close to us, it feels our vibrations as though it is a faraway ice shelf collapsing, and the worm squirms in panic and dives back into the ground to rush off to try and find where the ice is collapsing, in hopes that it is not collapsing around the worm's nest. And we heave a sigh of relief, just glad that we did not have to fight this massive beast. And we continue to trot on, our heart beating in our chest like a tense drum, and find that once again this place has no shortage of challenges for us. The 6 of Hearts. As you wearily climb hand over hand up a mountainside, a rumbling heralds that most terrifying events. Avalanche. Protect you. That most terrifying of events. Avalanche. Protect yourself from the cascade at all costs. So as it says, we are using a series of bone pythons to trudge our way up a large mountainside. And it has taken us a long time to even reach this mountain. So when we start hearing rumbling again, we look around and panic, like, is the worm really going to hassle me again? And then we look up, and we see the snow pluming upward as it roars downward at us, the sound getting louder and louder. And we think on our feet and realize that there is a cave a scant few feet above us that we could use to ride out the avalanche as it would slide past the mountain, as it would slide down the mountain past us, not filling this cave due to its momentum. Whether we can make that is another story. That's a 1. That's a 1. That's a 1. That is a 1. There is no way we can do that. We realize that this cave is unreachable with the state of fatigue that we are in, and so we we hastily look down and realize that our rope remains tense, and find that we're going to need to lose a little bit of progress, because there is another cave that we can hide in. It's just a long way down the mountain. And so we take hold of this rope loosely to guide our way down and rappel as quickly as is humanly possible, and lose what feels like hours, if not a day's worth of progress climbing this mountain, just to get out of the way of the avalanche and not die. And after the avalanche passes and we manage to dig our way out of the snowpack that has settled in front of the lower cave, we once again attempt to trudge onward. And finally find some respite for once from all of the challenges of this horrifying, horrifying tundra, with the Queen of Clubs. In the cave where you shelter overnight, very fitting, thank you, you find paintings daubed onto the rock in colors of earth, ancient beyond reckoning. Just how long have the people been walking with winter? Makes you feel strong to know how many of your kind walk with you in spirit. As we alluded to at the beginning of our journey, uh, our ancestors walk along with us as we walk the snows, in hopes of being able to protect us. And as we light the fire in the cave that we are staying in overnight, we realize that the shifting and flickering flame animates these drawings on the wall. By what mechanism we know not, but as we are sitting there at the fire and looking around in hopes of finding something, anything to entertain us, we find that these slowly shifting drawings on the wall are animating a tale of someone just like us, unknowingly old from our perspective, but someone just like us who has been hiding in this cave in order to avoid an avalanche that was coming down this very mountain. Uh, and we realize that we do not only stand strong with the thoughts of our living family, but also stand strong on the shoulders of the knowledge that our ancestors have given us. And it brings us a great deal of hope. Before we move on to the next item, I forgot to mention to the internet that I forgot to mention to Twitter that I was doing this, so let me do that real quick. Usually I do it during the setup phase, so it doesn't matter very much. Thank you, Magnus. Magnus like, I would like to help. Thank you. This seems like a very interesting story. Thank you for joining us, sir. Let's see if I can find a good... That's a good one. I like that. Okay. I should really make like a GIF of the like nice snowfall background that I use. Okay, then we will move on to our next event. Hopefully not disturbing Magnus in the process. Yeah, fine. Hello there. Out of curiosity, how many points do we have? I know we're nowhere near the end of the game, but I need to know. 7, 9, 18, 21, 22, 30, 39, 49. So we're well on our way. We still need 100 points, but still, we can make it. So let's move on to our next event, hopefully without disturbing the boy. The challenges never end out here on the frozen tundra as we stumble into the Seven of Diamonds. Good heavens, are all of my, like, helpful items in the deck still? Goodness gracious. The 7 of diamonds means... hearts, diamonds. Huddled in the snow is the frozen form of another traveler. You hurry to their side, but this person is long, long gone. Another walker with winter, perhaps, but less successful. And then is the frigid form... Oh, we have a follow, I believe? Oh, a raid from Wintermute Live. Thank you for the raid. Oh, Winter Muting. Thank you so much for the raid, Winter Muting. Welcome, welcome. I love that. I love that raid gif. Is it just like the word raid with like a little shadow? That's adorable. Welcome. You have dropped by at the perfect time for both of our usernames. We are playing Borealis this fine evening. It is a solo tabletop RPG about being someone who is walking through a frozen tundra in hopes of finding, well, the Borealis and being regarded by Winter as a person of great stature. And we have just come upon someone who did not make it on their own journey. And this, I believe this ties into the event that we just had, sitting in the cave. As we crest over the top of this mountain, we find the still frozen body of someone, and we do rush up to them because we were not the only one leaving to hunt for the Borealis in our village. Thankfully, it's not anyone we recognize, but less thankfully, that person has been frozen solid for an incredible volume of time. We're no historian, but they've been here for a long, long time, several generations probably. And as we find their family crest hanging from their neck and look at it with great care, we find that it is one that we do not recognize, a simple snowflake. And we look up from the snowflake and find that this frozen body, it has turned its head to look at us. Its eyes flash with a familiar blue glow from our time down in that ravine of ice open to the air, and it reaches its frigid hands out toward us to grab us by the neck and start to try and turn us into one of it. And we will see if it manages to do so. We need to roll over a 7. Come on, big money. Oh no. What can I can add a 3, so that would only bring us up to a 6. So context. These challenges, we can sacrifice these green cards on the board to gain points to try and get over the number on the card. But we can only do it so much. This one is limited to 3 points, and because I rolled a 3, that would mean we can only get a 6, which is not enough. So this thing reaches out for our neck, and we dive out of the way, barely escaping its frigid grip. And we stumble backwards, almost, and we look behind our shoulder and see the chunk of snow that food and bio, etc. BRB. Okay, enjoy the lurk, though. I think there's a raid. Do I have a raid command? I don't have a raid command? I need to fix that. Everyone here from the raid, if you are on desktop, in the little URL bar above my head, there's going to be a question mark refer equals raid. Remove that from the URL, hit enter. It makes you count as eyeballs. I need them because I'm pushing for affiliate. If you're on mobile, I think you can just close the stream and then open it again. Like, just close the stream. Follow me so you know who I am. Close the stream, open it again. I think that will get rid of the raid referral. And I appreciate all of you being here very, very much. Now, where was I? Oh yeah, this thing was about to grab us by the neck and turn us into a blue and purple spotted a blue and purple spotted corpse just like itself. And we look backward, and the chunk of snow that falls off of our boots as we are stumbling backwards falls off the top of the mountain and falls and falls and falls, and we don't get to see it hit the ground because this thing lunges at us before we this thing lunges at us, and we do not get to see the snow hitting the ground because we roll out of the way once more. Roll, 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 roll. And eventually we are coming out tired. But so is this thing. And it decides that we are not as easy prey as it wants. And it instead grabs a passing animal with a frightening quickness and shoves it into its mouth and starts to chew as we hear the ice crystals forming in the meat, and we run in terror. Our blood running cold, but at least not literally. And we have to sacrifice one of our tools that we've gained on the journey, and unfortunately that means the aid of clubs. Fittingly, I suppose that means the aid of clubs. The flash of that thing's horrifying ice blue eyes ruins the memory of that pleasant snowy cavern that we had found before. The ravine's beautiful colors, beautiful crystalline jewel work colors, forever ruined by this thing that was about to freeze our body and devour our soul. And we decide that the direction we're heading is just not feasible. It's just not going to work, and so we backtrack. We decide that we are going to go a different direction than the one we followed from the village, and we will head down here for our next event. The Jack of Diamonds. The challenges, despite our attempt to run from them, continue to follow us throughout the tundra. And a creature rises up from the surface of the snow. Hooked hands and spikes adorn its small form, and you realize this is a mephit, a being of ice, cold, and malevolence, but no great threat to a seasoned traveler. Then a second rises, and a third, and a fourth, and as they begin to laugh, eyes burning with pitiless cruelty, you realize this may be a threat after all. We actually laugh aloud at the first mephit. It's just a mephit, and we say it's just a mephit, and we start to laugh, and then the second clawed hand bursts through the snow, and we go, maybe only two of them, it's fine, and then a third, and then a fourth, and it is now their turn to laugh at us for our arrogance. And we realize that fighting these things is going to be no small order. Let's see how it goes. That's a 10. That's a 10. We take those. We realize that fighting these things is going to be no small order. They not New Yorkin methods again. Okay, so context before I dive into how we absolutely wrecky these methods. In a D&D campaign I'm running with Jade in it, there were a set of steam mephits in a dungeon in a tundra area that would be perfect to play this game in. And they were from New York, you see, and they were supposed to be part of a puzzle where they would play in a real steam organ, but the party made friends with them anyway. And it was a great scene anyway. I wasn't mad about the puzzle getting dunked on because it was a great scene. I got to be New Yorker mephits. Love the mephits. Love the mephits. Anyway. What a tone shift. No, these aren't as nice as the steam mephits that you know, Jade. These are ice mephits. And they want to see the death of all heat in the world. And we realize that because they want to see the death of all heat in the world, if we just bait them with a different source of heat, they'll deal with that instead of us. So we on instinct plunge our hand into the snow and grab out a little rat thing, and it gives a little as we pick it up and we throw it at the Mephits, and they all go. They reach up their clawed hands and grab the thing, and it starts to steam rapidly. And as the Mephits are busy doing that, we light a torch and run at them. And thanks to that initial distraction and our previous ability to our previous handling of these little distillments of the essence of cold, bestowed with a malefic intelligence, it's not the first time we've had to help defend the village from this kind of thing. They go down relatively easily. We're panting heavily, and that poor little rat sacrificed its beating heart for us, but we managed to get away from it. And we move on to try and find something else before the Mephits, reform or something. And we find that the challenges, they just don't end. The tundra is a land of unending difficulties, at least in our case. We think back to the generation before us who talked about having a much easier go at things, and we wonder if our luck is just that poor. And as we wonder if our luck is that poor, a cliff looms up before us, and with dismay you note that close up it is a lot less ascendable than you were imagining. The surface is sheer and slick, blocking your path onward. How will you proceed? So as we are jogging away from the Mephits, we realize that, oh yeah, we're having a good time, okay. And then this massive stony wall seems to erupt from the ice in front of us as we come over a ridge. And we go, oh no, I can get over that. And once we get close to it, we realize that there are no handholds. This thing has been carved smooth by the movement of an ancient glacier, and we do not have enough pythons to climb this thing. A good deal of our pythons were lost trying to climb that mountain that tried to avalanche us, and then we got chased off by that horrifying corpse being, and we realized we're just gonna need to walk around. It's gonna be really unfortunate. It's gonna take a long time out of our day, but we're just going to need to walk around the thing. The wall extends a great deal of distance in one direction, but less so in the other. And so we sigh and shake our head and grit our teeth and start walking. Come on, brain. That's a 4, exactly correct. It takes us... We camp next to the face of this cliff. It takes us that long to walk around this thing. And it once again changes our direction. As we trudge onward, our shoes caked in ice and snow, our mind fatigued from all the disasters that seem to have been plaguing us so far, and we really wish we could just have one night of pleasant sleep. But will we find that one night of pleasant sleep? No. We instead we walk into a relatively nondescript cave in this massive wall, and find that in this unassuming cave is a bright blue humanoid form carved intricately out of ice. And as we step into the cave, it opens its eyes and stares us down and shakes its head. You are unworthy of my presence. Flee now, and I will spare you. This voice echoes throughout the cavern and rattles our bones, and we flee without a second thought. We have now encountered the Borealis, and it found us unworthy of its presence. So for context, to interact with the Borealis, we will need 140 points of cards on the board just by card value. Magnus, no more dig. We will need 140 points worth of cards on the board. We are nowhere near that, so the Borealis has sensed that and said, "Get out of here, you scrub." How are we looking for points here? Well, we won't have this anymore, but this would have counted at the time. 10, 20, 31, 40, calculating, ruminating, 43, 44, 51, yeah, we're nowhere near 140 regardless. And we flee from the we flee from the Borealis, and the terror of that moment shakes the joy that we had felt in finding that cave full of our ancestors' depictions of them going through something very similar to our own strife. It is just shaken from our mind because we've been rejected by the embodiment of winter, which is a crushing defeat. But we realize that it said you are not ready yet, and so we continue to trudge onward, trying to find a way to prove ourselves worthy to this embodiment of winter that is whose judgment our home's social hierarchy depends upon. We step forward into another challenge. The 8 of Spades. Finally something helpful. The 8 of Spades. Lodged in a crevasse, you discover a discarded backpack of walrus leather. Empty, but obviously of the people's construction. Was it discarded by another walker, perhaps? We have, as we've continued to walk on, we've felt that our pack has been a little overweighted. Just too full of things. We tried to over-prepare before leaving, and the discovery of this walrus leather pouch that had been wedged in the branch of a desiccated, dead-looking bush is a massive boon to our mental health after that destructive moment of rejection by the Borealis. And we once again remember that even though we are walking physically alone, we are not walking metaphorically alone. The people we come from walk alongside us in mind and in spirit, in hopes of lending us aid. And that warms our heart and our bones for a brief moment. And of course, the pack itself is endlessly helpful, allowing us to better distribute the weight of what we're carrying. So we move on to the next event. Ooh, the Jack of Spades. More boons. In an area of scattered rocks amidst the ice rests a jawbone of an animal unknown to you. The rest of the animal is nowhere to be seen, and the jawbone seems shaped to fit a hand. As we walk on, we find that the pack seems to be suspiciously empty, even despite having divided our haul and our gear and our haul between the bags evenly. We find that the bag that we had picked up has a conspicuous pouch, clearly designed to hold a weapon of some kind. And as we come up over a rise, there are a lot of rises around here. As we come over a rise, there is a small area of scattered rocks that looks akin to a campfire ring that has been blown apart by the winds and the storms of this area. But alongside this fire ring, we find this jawbone, and we heft it in our hand, and it fits perfectly, a little too perfectly. We brush it off a little bit and find that the base of the jawbone has had some basic leather wrapped around it to perform a grip, we now have a weapon to face the horrors of this place as they bear down upon us. And we flash back to the several times, the many times even, that we have completely failed to defeat some wild animal that was trying to, some wild animal or some eldritch horror, not necessarily eldritch, some dendritic horror that was breathing down our neck. And we grasp the club tightly, our vigor for this journey renewed as we step onward. The Six of Hearts. Our luck can only run so far, and we once again run into another challenge that the tundra has held for us. As we really, did we not already do the Six of Hearts? We failed the avalanche, didn't we? Renewed by our sense of confidence, we realized that we should try and climb that mountain again. We could maybe defeat that weird hunting corpse that nearly killed us before. And so as we climb the mountain again, this corpse must have some ability to trigger an avalanche coming down the mountain as a defense mechanism, because another avalanche comes down the mountain as we are climbing up these previously placed pythons that have stayed put as we've wandered around the tundra. And before we resolve whether we can get into a cave to avoid the avalanche, I gotta read chat. Hey, yo, get a load of that table cam in action. Yeah, bud. Let's go, table cam. Table cam. You can see things. All right, let's see if we can avoid the avalanche this time. Come on, big money, no whammies. Big money, no whammies. Gotta roll over a 6 out of 10. Let's go. So as we are climbing, the avalanche comes down the mountain again, but this time we have much more advanced warning. As this torrent of snow barrels down at us, we lean down onto the mountain for a moment and then rip our pythons out of the wall as we leap, one hand outstretched, and grab the edge of the cave and just barely pull ourselves in there in time to manage to dodge the onslaught of powder coming down at us with a sound like 1,000 freight trains. And we sit in this cave and heave a sigh of relief. We've managed to avoid that, at least. I should check that I am allowed to be doing what I'm doing, because, like, success in the challenge. Okay, yeah, it doesn't say I have to stop after I've failed at the Borealis. This is a great game for table cam. I've been sitting on a bunch of games like this for table cam, because I have several games like this that have been in dire need of table cam. I played Punch Card Memories, and I was like, I need a table cam to do more games like this. Also, Punch Card Memories, so good. I'm trying to get the videos uploaded. I'll complain about that later. Let's move on to our next event here. And find yet another boon hiding for us in this cave, the 5 of Spades. Nestling amid the snow, you are surprised to see a bed of white flowers with petals that sparkle lightly in the cold sunlight. Are they something special? So, there is nothing special in this cave, but as we climb out of this cave, we find that I appreciate the lurk. Thank you for tuning in, dear. As we climb out of this cave, we're taking a different path up the mountain this time, and we come over a rise, and there's a small little, like, plateaued chunk of the mountain that we can rest for a moment. And as we're resting, we do see a series of small white flowers that glisten in the sun, and they bring a smile to our face because they're beautiful. And then we realize that these are dendrous daisies. Uh, dendrous, as in dendrous daisies. Dendrous daisies, which are one of the few known treatments for frostbite. And fittingly, they only grow in places that are incredibly difficult to get to or are incredibly horrifically cold. And they're often the only plant life in the area when you find them. And we hoping to leave some of these for the next traveler. Harvest as much as we feel is safe. Place them in our pack, wrapped in waxed paper that we've placed into a book, and hope that we don't need to use them, but if we need to use them, we've got them on hand. And we move onward to our next event. And our luck continues to only run so far as another challenge rears its head at us. The 6 of diamonds. A pack of wolves howl around you. Normally wolves will not attack one of the people. This has been a hard, cold winter, and those howls sound like they're advancing on you. Tame or avoid the pack somehow, lest they bring you down here in the wastes. So we hear these howls distantly, and go, oh no, it's fine. And then we notice that the tracks that we've seen have been almost exclusively following the way our scent would have gone when the wind is pushing it in a particular direction. We realize these wolves have been starving all winter. Maybe it's because up on top of the mountain here, that horrific, glowing-eyed corpse is stealing all their food, but they are hungry enough to chase after us. And we once again wish for our staff, but it is floating in the bottom of the ocean, and we just have to try our luck at either outsmarting or outrunning these wolves. And we wonder if we could just run them into that carnivorous corpse. But we'll see if we can manage to do something that clever. That's a 12, baby. So as we are trying to find a way away from these wolves, we realize that they are tracking us by scent. And so if we hide in something non-porous enough to not allow our scent to escape, that might work. Doubly so if we distract them with some of our very smelly pickled fish rations. And so we dig ourselves a hole in very dense snow, and it is an exhausting endeavor, but scattering some of these pickled fish around the top of the hole, and then covering it as best as we can with the circular chunk of ice that we picked out of the ground initially, we find that these wolves are too busy eating the fish for them to notice us underneath this false floor, essentially. And we step onward, coming over the mountain, to find another boon left at the top of this mountain for us with the 10 of spades. Which is, once the page loads, a wooden whistle carved in the shape of a snowbird is beneath your bedroll when you rise. Blowing it makes a soft, joyful trill. Did that flock of birds steer a little toward you? Was it there when you went to sleep? So we realize after escaping those wolves that we need to sleep. So we just kind of convert our little hidey hole into a makeshift igloo, and we once again sleep beneath the snows, warmed by both its insulative property and our own efforts. And as we rise, we almost bonk our head on the ceiling, and kind of shake it off and roll out of the bedroll and find that little bird whistle. It says it's a wooden whistle. I'm going to be over dramatic and say that it is an ivory whistle. And ivory is an incredibly rare material here on the tundra because you want to respect something that has enough tusk to produce ivory, and so every ounce of it is incredibly precious and incredibly spiritually meaningful. And so to find this in our bedroll means that uh, either someone is looking down on us favorably from within our ancestors. One of our ancestors spirits that walks among us has given us a most ingenious boon for the difficulties we have faced, or someone else nearby, a little more capable than ourselves, is keeping one eye on us. Either way, the watchful eye of an adult over our shoulder uh, could be very handy to have around. And we do blow the whistle once, and it makes a faint trilling whistle that you can barely hear, and a flock of birds seems to turn toward us for a moment, and then wheel back away to chase after something else. And we move on to our next event, the Seven of Diamonds. The trials seem to never end around here. The Seven of Diamonds is once again that parasitic corpse that hunts using the goodwill of the people. And this time when we see the corpse, we approach it very, very carefully. Uh, it is a long. It is. We have made our way down over the mountain, and seeing it again startled us. This thing has moved a good way in the process of hunting, and but we approach it with care. We approach it with care as soon as we realize that it is the same parasitic corpse that tried to turn us into a corpsicle again. We approach with our club drawn. Hopefully we can manage to club it over the head this time. That's a 5. We only need 2. How much can I add here? I can add 3. So we go to club at it and miss, and its hand closes around our arm, and we as the cold pulses into our bones and our muscle, our skin rapidly turning blue and then purple, and we grab the club out of the immobilized arm with our other hand and club this thing over the head, and it shatters into 100 pieces. And I won't go into any more detail for fear of getting gory, but there is a deep purple handprint of destroyed, tingling flesh on our arm now, and we pull from our pack the dendrous daisies that we were hoping to save for an emergency, and realize since this is our dominant arm, this is an emergency. And we crush them up into a paste as best we can with one hand and rub it over the damaged tissue, and it goes back from purple to blue to silver to fine. It's a little irritated, a little red, but it's at least fine. So we'll draw another card to replace that, and we'll immediately move up to look at it, because I'm curious. As we try to rub the stiffness and the soreness and the tingling out of that arm, we find another challenge that we almost scoff at initially, because it is a pittance in comparison to some of the things we've handled lately. The Two of Hearts. Beneath you is an ominous sound that suggests this plateau of ice is thinner than you expected, as the surface crazes into a dozen cracks. Save yourself. So we almost laugh at this. This is far from the only time that we have accidentally found incredibly thin ice, and our muscle memory clicks into place without a second thought, and we we roll away from the ice, trying to expand our surface area as we do so to make it less likely that uh, to make it so more of the thin ice has to hold us. And admittedly, it is very slow movement. It's very deliberate movement in order to stop this ice from cracking into a billion pieces with us on top of it and throwing us into the frigid ocean. That's 4. We take those. And as we slowly slip away from the ice, the thin ice collapses down into the ocean, and there's a large, almost perfectly sized hole for our body, and it continues to crack and splinter outward to our left and to our right. And we realize that we really can't go that way, so we turn around and we walk somewhere else. And as we're walking somewhere else, we're allowed to breathe a sigh of relief once more as we find another boon. The 10 of clubs. Ahead, a seemingly unimpeding area of fresh snow is interrupted by a sculpture in ice. Crude, but unmistakably a rune of warning and betrayal, taller than you. You know not what it warns against, but take another route as the hand of the people reaches out again to protect you and your walk. This is far from the first time on our journey that the efforts of our ancestors have reached out and helped us indirectly, but this is the most blatant and obvious sign that we have found so far. This rune is something that is drilled into us from childhood. And we know that we cannot go that way. There is something dangerous over there. The meaning of what exactly the danger is over there has been lost to the winds and snows of time. But you know that these sculptures were placed by ancestors long forgotten and enchanted in some fashion to stay there forever, to warn against some kind of danger that is now unknown. Right? Do I have a piece of paper to draw on? Because I know what I want that to be, but I don't know that I have a way to show you. Alright, napkin sketch. It is... You see this? Can everybody see this? It's one of these. It's one of these. It's just a big three-dimensional version of this thing. You know, the international sign for radioactivity. There's something radioactive over there, and your ancestors have saved you from the trouble of accidentally irradiating yourself. Hooray. But our character doesn't know that. We do, though. Okay, let's count points here for a second to see if we can take on the Borealis. So 6 and 6 is 12. Hang on. Let's just use a calculator with our large computer brain over here. So 8 plus 11 plus 6 plus 10 plus 7 plus 8. Sorry, I know me doing mental math is not good radio. Plus 9 plus 3 plus 10 plus 7 plus 2 plus 9 plus 1 plus 11 plus 4. We're at 106. We're not super far off. Let's keep going. Let's see if we can manage to rustle up the 140 points that we need. And we turn 180 degrees and walk the heck away from the ancient sign of danger and walk back to a place that we have been before, to find that once again, the 10 of Hearts, we find that once again the Melnra, our staff that we had thought lost forever, bobs on top of the ocean water for a moment, and it seems to sense our presence, and the runes glow a beautiful dark green, and it shoots up out of the ocean and sticks at the very edge of the ice shelf once again that we had walked forward to before, and we much more carefully this time try to walk forward and seize our Maelnra, as we will probably be needing it in the near future. That's not going to be enough. That's not going to be enough. The Ten of Hearts allows a max bonus of 4. And so that would give us a 7, so we can't do it. We once again reach out, and as our fingers are about to close around the Maelnra, the ice cracks and we stumble backwards in order to avoid falling into the ocean many, many miles below. And the Maelnra once again falls into the ocean. And we trudge once more to try and find something else, and find another boon waiting for us in the snow. The Nine of Spades means a pillar of ice rises above your head, and sealed in the center of it, almost as if floating on water, is a ring, burnished red gold with a bright ruby embedded within it. Makes you feel warm simply looking at it, and placing it on your finger matches deed to thought. Was this left here for you, for every walker with winter? As we're walking, this pillar rises. We are walking, parallel to this ice shelf in hopes that we can manage to find our Maelnra, and just barely precariously balanced on the edge of the ice shelf is this pillar. And we, without thinking, grab this ring in hopes that it is some kind of boon that will help us. And the second we grab the ring, the pillar tumbles off of the ice shelf into the sea. And we almost don't notice how the warmth that it spreads through our entire body as we wear it, as that chunk of ice falling from so high into the water shatters into 1,000, 100,000, 1,000,000 pieces from the weight of the water hitting it that suddenly. And we admire this ring that is bringing so much warmth to our body as we walk on, and once again walk into... rather, we're not walking into familiar danger with this card. We walk very close to home and find, since we're so close to home, another boon. The Five of Clubs. Fresh snowfall here has caused an avalanche, but to your delight the collapse has revealed a thin but easy to traverse path through a collection of jagged rocks. What might have taken hours will now take only minutes, and easy minutes at that. You feel rejuvenated at the sheer sight of it. The warmth in our body from that ring pulses in time with our heartbeat, so it makes us much more aware of our unconscious reaction to emotion. And as we see this fallen avalanche, our heart races in panic, expecting another one of those parasitic corpses to leap out of the snow at us. But after a moment, when that doesn't happen, we find that this perfect little ravine path of these stones, leading us to our next challenge somewhere else on the tundra, really makes it a lot easier to walk, and we relax for the first time in a long time. The Ace of Spades. The world has finally seen fit to give us some. The world has finally seen fit to give us some peace, almost as if it knows that we should be taking on the Borealis soon, and we will need every iota of strength that we can muster. An old but strangely shaped rock, like a seal and heavily weathered by cracking ice, peeks up above the snow invitingly. As we're walking, we finally walk out of this path that the stones had left us, and as we come up, we walk slowly up the hill of snow that leads us back out onto the tundra proper. We do find a rock shaped like a seal, invitingly performing, that banana pose that seals love. And we smile. And we wonder if perhaps it's our ancestors leaving us a gift, perhaps it's just nature showing us something pleasant. Either way, it warms our heart. And we move on to the next card. The Four of Clubs. That's where all the freaking boons were. They were all right here. Wish I had gone that way initially. The Four of Clubs. A rare sight. Winterberry holly sprouts forth from the snow, and half a dozen bright red berries still remain on the branches. You quickly swallow them. Winterberry brings the gift of vision, and you can see your own sight sharpening as distant things spring into focus. Indeed, we have our eyes fixed on the distant horizon, wondering if we can manage to find the Borealis in enough time that all the strength from everything that has been going well for us will not fade. And we almost trip over the Winterberry holly, and we almost feel the tangible presence of our ancestors looking over our shoulder at this point, with everything that has been going so well for us. It feels like there is no shortage of wonder in this world, and we can see it that much more clearly as we down the berries and allow our sight to sharpen, allow the world to tell us more about what is happening without too much effort involved. But our luck can only last so long. We run into another challenge with the Ten of Hearts. Again? Oh yeah. As we trudge along, we know that our Melnra will be absolutely vital to defeat the Borealis, or at least gain its trust. For a traveler who has lost something so important, will be blatantly frowned upon. And so we try again, for a third time as we walk up to this ice shelf. The Melnra summons an ever decreasing flow of magic. The runes starting to splutter a little bit as it sticks into the ice at the edge, and we once again try to reach for it with ever more care every time. That's a 9. That's a 9. We're getting this because the Ten of Hearts allows a max bonus of 4. I'm just going to spend the ace to directly meet it at 10, which we smile and think of the seal-shaped rock as we finally manage to grasp the Melnra in our hand and pull it out of the ice and hold it close to us for a moment as the runes go from a flickering pale green to their full power once again as we hold it tightly against us. And the memory of that funny seal-shaped rock really brings us additional cheer as we now walk on much easier. Our way made much easier by the walking stick that we carry, the one that we have missed dearly this entire journey. But we'll come to another challenge, the Jack of Hearts. A roaring sound chills you to your bones as you realize with horror that ahead is an ice bear and it is protecting cubs. The bears are formidable opponents themselves and can act in a frenzied rage. Once again, as we are walking, our sharpened sight fades from the Winterberry holly, and we do not notice the three nesting bear cubs and nearly trip over them. Once again, angering this what we're pretty sure is this same exact bear that had assailed us at the beginning of our journey, but steeled by the power of both our Melnra and that jawbone club that we found earlier. We feel that we can handle the issue now. Come on, 12, baby, that's a crit! The bear charges at us, and we lean deftly to one side, simply sticking out the club to allow the bear's own frenzied charge to run into it and cause much more damage than we ever could with our bare hands. And the bear simply falls to the ground. Unconscious, thankfully. For now. It solves the problem for us. They fall to the ground, and we gently cover the cubs with something warm, and walk away, assured in our knowledge that the tundra has fewer dangers than we would think now that we are well prepared. And we become ever more well prepared with the seven of spades, which does a long hollow log, turned gray in the winter sun, is the last remnant of a tree that stood here long ago. It is large enough to fit your whole arm inside. A snowstorm blows in on us, and as you may know, a snowstorm in a tundra like this is mostly just snow blowing up off the ground. We're frantically searching for any sort of cover, knowing that we're not going to be able to dig something fast enough. And as we're frantically searching, that log appears. It scarcely stands out from the landscape, and you realize that this tree had died long ago, and you gladly accept its help, and hide in the tree as we hear torrents of diamond dust and small pieces of snow. What's the word I'm looking for? Assailing the outside of this tree, but we remain unscathed, thankfully, due to its help. Finally, we take on the last challenge that is not the Borealis on the board. And we once more find the King of Hearts. A wide circle in the snow. We once again find this wide circle in the snow with 4 smaller but still very wide circles in the snow. And we find that we've walked into the path of the giant saber-toothed lynx that terrified us at the beginning of our journey once more. And steeled. We know that we cannot defeat something this large and this mythical, but we hope that by holding our Maelnra aloft, we can at least convince it that we are a member of the people and someone to be trusted rather than eaten. It's a 2. The max bonus is 6. We need to make 13. That won't work. We hold our Maelnra aloft in a bid to placate this massive beast, and it sniffs the Maelnra and sneezes and blows us backward into a snowdrift, and it runs off. It didn't like the smell of us, but we have not gained its trust. We need to lose one of our boons on the board, and I'm going to say that is the 4 of clubs, which is the Winterberry Holly. The Winterberry Holly has long since passed from our system, and so has not allowed us to see sharply. But then we realize that there is a downside to the Winterberry Holly. If you do not prepare the berries correctly, you're going to have a real bad time of it gastrointestinally. And we sit clutching our stomach, having a real bad time of it for a while. And we move on to the next potential event. Another challenge rears its head at us with the 4 of diamonds as we stumblingly manage to get a hold of ourselves after the holly has stopped causing us problems. But we've stumbled around unaware of our direction for a while and find that we come upon a cold river coursing through the landscape, salty brackish water flowing fast. The river is wide and harsh, and the bridge that was there collapsed long ago. Bitterly cold water flows over rocks, casting an icy mist in the air. How will you cross to continue? So we find that the rocks of the bridge have crumbled on either side, and, helpfully, crumbled in the middle of the river too, giving us stepping stones. It's going to be a bit of a dexterous task, but we might be able to manage to cross the river if we're lucky or skilled enough. That's a 5. We managed to skip across the rocks, and just for fun, we do it again. We do it a second time, and we skip our way back into the territory of the giant lynx, and we breathe out and chant some half-remembered words as we once again raise our Maelnra And in the other hand, raise the club, wondering if it has some kind of magic behind it too. 5. That's not going to cut it, I don't think, unless I can add more than I think. I can add 6. That's 11. It won't do. The lynx grows tired of our arrogance and assuming that it's going to put up with us just because we're someone who lives in a settlement. And it chases us this time. We run in terror. It grabs us by the scruff and thinks about eating us, and instead just throws us into a faraway snowdrift. And we lose the 5 of clubs this time, which is the avalanche and the easy path. We realize that as we are thrown, we can see the easy path that we walked before. It is now drifted shut. But we wonder if we can try and walk over the snow to see what's there. And we do find another boon with a 2 of spades. A rope is here, curled neatly into a coil. This is no natural thing. Was it left here deliberately by one who walked this path before you? Who can say? As we're walking over the loosely packed snow that filled this once easy path, we find that only one of the spires of stone has reached out of the snow, and around that spire of stone there is a neatly coiled bundle of rope. And we once again smile happily in recognition of the fact that we do not walk alone. We've leaned on this fact our whole journey, and we once again lean on it as we walk into the lynx's territory, this time the rope in tow, wondering if we can manage to maybe trip it with that rope that was serendipitously placed. Now with a 2 we can't. We try to stretch the rope taut between a few rocks, and the lynx just steps over it. It does not care. And the rope breaks. It splinters into 100 different pieces. Why didn't we think it was going to be dry rope? Real smart. And we wander along trying to find something else, and find another challenge in the 8 of diamonds. The bellowing sound from beyond the ridge fills you with fear as the furred and horned form of a yeti crests the rise, clawed hands spread wide. You must avoid its gaze. It will sap your strength and drain you of heat. How will you proceed? As we are rushing away from the lynx's territory, maybe realizing that we're just entirely not cut out to be able to handle this thing, we hear the bellow of a yeti, and it rushes over the rise of a snowdrift, hands outstretched, its gaze boring into us. But as long as we don't look at its gaze, we won't be affected. It's a bit like a Medusa in that fashion. Or a Gorgon, I guess. I guess Medusa is the Gorgon that does stone, and other Gorgons have other things. Anyway. With a 10, our knowledge of knowing to not look at the Yeti in the eyes really, really comes in handy. And we manage to avoid it as it rushes past us and grabs 2 previously unseen foxes and crams them in its face. And we rush off while it's busy with that prey. Let's count points here to see if I really do need to keep throwing myself at this lynx. So 6, 2, 11, 6, 10, 7, 8, 9, 9, 3, 10, 7, 2, 9, 1, 11, 11, 10, 4, 8, 7, 4. We realize as we avoid the Yeti that trying to convince the lynx to aid us in our stand against the Borealis is a fruitless endeavor, and we need to just try to see if we can convince the Borealis that we are worthy of the journey we have just been on. We once again approach its sanctuary, finding once again uh, a colossal ice blue man, sculpted with an immense detail, stares us down and says, "Approach, traveler. Your journeys have made you strong, but have they made you strong enough?" And he extends a staff that is essentially like the size of a telephone pole down towards us, and we see at the very end of the staff two handprints, clearly melted away from many, many years of many, many travelers the grasping this staff to see if they can withstand the struggle that it bestows upon them. And as we grasp the staff, our eyes are forced open and we look upward to see an aurora painted across the top of this sacred cave, and it begins to show us scenes from our life. That's a 10. We need a 13. Yeah, I'll sacrifice this, the 7 of spades. What do we lose? We flash through scenes from this entire journey, and for a long moment, the aurora settles on the scene of us huddled in this log, horrified out of our mind at the essentially the sandblasting that this thing is receiving, that it saved us from. And the Borealis, the aurora snaps closed on that image, and it blasts a beam down in our eyes, and we fall, our ears ringing, face first, down onto the cavern. And as we weakly look up at the Borealis, it says, "Good. You have proven yourself worthy. Bear the title of one. Bear the title of one that has walked among the winter with pride. When you waken, you will find yourself at home once more." And indeed, as soon as the Borealis stops speaking, our eyes flutter shut from the strain, and we find ourselves slowly waking in our bed, comfortable, warm, and surrounded by family and friends who let out a cheer as our eyes flitter open. We've returned from our walk amongst the winter, and now it's time to celebrate. Because not only are we a full adult, but we're also a full adult blessed by the Borealis's whim. For now the pendant around our neck that formed our family symbol glitters with the opalescent hues of the aurora that struck us mere moments ago. Okay, that was Borealis. That was so fun. Oh my gosh. So if you were curious, the last card remaining on the board was the King of Clubs, which would have been a huge boon for us, but we didn't get it. That was a fantastic story. I had so much fun telling that, and it was especially really entertaining to have that sense of progress as we flipped more and more of the board face up, and gained more and more resources to face the Borealis, and furthermore face the challenges ahead of us. This is a super, super good one. You could definitely play this more than once. Sometimes these solo tabletop RPGs, they tend to be playable only once. This one, the order in which you find these prompts and the way in which the prompts are written kind of allow you to weave a story much more generatively and much more much more unrestricted by the prompts, which is very much appreciated. Uh, I also just really like the concept of Carta engine games where you build a board out of some playing cards and that's how you get your prompts instead of just continuously like, I draw, I draw, I draw, I draw, you know. As fun as those games are, uh the idea of the board being a little uh the board on which you play being procedurally generated each time rather than some kind of static board game makes this super super fun, and it gives you some kind of agency, especially if you can remember where, especially with this one in particular, if you can remember where cards you have failed, you can kind of sit on them side quest style and come back to them later. I really 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 like that. I may come back to this one, maybe not on stream because I've got so many that I want to play on stream, but I'm definitely coming back to this one on my own time. This is perfectly suited. So there is an area in my D&D campaign outside of oh man, I dog-eared one of the cards. Unfortunate. Where was I? There's an area in my D&D campaign that is like a uh there's an area in my D&D campaign that is essentially like one of the settlements that would do this kind of thing. In fact, it is a rite of passage for the people in that city to wander out into the snowy wastes and search for I believe it's just called the Onyx Diamond. It's the Onyx something, I can't remember, but it's a MacGuffin essentially. Um, and you know, it's a rite of passage to search for this thing and not find it. Um, and so that is perfectly suited to the stories that this game wants you to tell. Oh man, I'm so miffed. Look what it did to this card. Can you see it? It's got a little dog-eared corner now. I'm real miffed about it. Like, that's the first card that's gotten damaged in this deck. Unfortunate. Ah well. Good things only flow so far, so maybe that's the karmic response for such a good tale there. But anyway, yeah, this fits genuinely perfectly into the coming of age process for Dendron in my D&D setting, and so I'm very interested to play this in my off time and kind of like essentially use it to build people who have gone on these journeys. I'm glad you had a lot of fun listening to the story, because I had a ton of fun playing it. This game is really good. This is absolutely a model from which to build off of for the Carta engine, if you ask me. Uh, both of the Carta engine games that we've played here, the Onyx Diamond, thank you. I could not remember if I chose a different word than diamond. I did just choose diamond. Thank you for reminding me. This is why I have DM notes, by the way, so I don't do that in a session. Uh, but thank you so much for reminding me of that, Jade. Anyway, this makes two Carta engine games that I have absolutely adored playing. The other one that we've played is um, oh, give me a second. Punch Card Memories, and that was also super super good. So I'm going to see how many more of these Carta engine games I can find because they're all super super fun so far, and I want to play them until I find a bad one and then keep playing them. They're super super good, um, and my highest praise to this one. Not only is it a setting and a prompt uh, that I'm well equipped to improvise for. Uh, Come on, I don't go by Glacier Nestor online for no reason. I like cold places. Um, Not only is this a prompt I'm very well equipped to improvise off of, it's also a very good series of prompts. Genuinely, my only complaint about this game is a visual design complaint. The PDF is designed fantastically, by the way. There's this super good, like, snow texture over the whole thing, and there's these great, like, very evocative photos of snowy landscapes under each of the tables and stuff. My only complaint is some of the flavor text is in a very inconvenient to read cursive font. Uh, that is literally my only note. I would change nothing else about this game. This is so good. Anyway, next week we will probably be playing Crypt Keeper or another Carta Engine game I find out in the world. You kind of want to imagine this one as a farming game. You could absolutely do a Carta Engine game as a farming game. That would actually be a really good one. Like you could do like a Stardew Valley type prompts. That's a really good idea. If someone hasn't done that, someone make that. I have ideas for Carta Engine games floating around in the back of my head now that I've played this. Um, but yeah, we'll probably be playing either Crypt Keeper or another Carta Engine game that I find next week. Later this week on Friday is Paper Cuts, as is tradition. We will probably be finishing the extra day on Friday, so tune in for that if you've been paying attention to the extra day, and if you haven't, definitely keep one eye out for that coming out to the podcast, because that's a really good story, and I've been enjoying reading it a lot. Uh, One more announcement, because I have this table cam, expect more table-oriented streams. I might be sewing. I have a bunch of sewing I need to catch up on. I might be sewing. I might be like, you all might get to sit along while I sit here and chop things for dinner. Stuff like that. Anything that would benefit from a table cam. While I'm over seeing Raz, I might be able to talk her into playing Hanafuda on camera. We both love to play Hanafuda. Um, and so if she does not mind being on camera, I would love to play Hanafuda on camera. Um, yeah, there's a lot we can do now that we have a table cam. Also, just as a note, the table cam, when it is not busy being a table cam and sitting right up there, it's going to be sitting right there and making my face cam shots look better. So that's very pleasant. But anyway, I don't think I have an outro for Tabletop RPG Time. Tune in next week for more Carta Engine games. Tune in Friday for more paper cuts. I hope you all have a great week.